All right, going live in 3, 2, 1. Well, this is Olivia on air. We're up to episode number 16 with Olivia. How are you doing, Olivia? I was going to say this evening, but it could be anywhere in the world.
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. The Anything exciting going on where you are?
Not really. Um, it was raining pretty hard earlier, but I don't really hear it anymore now. And other than that, nothing really interesting.
No, this is just a regular rainstorm. It's not like a tropical storm or anything like that. We're not getting into that.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
I think it's drying out. I think rainy season is coming to an end. So,
oh, well, it doesn't seem like it was too bad of a season, so that's a good thing. I mean, for some people it was though, but I mean, I didn't see. It seemed like there was less than usual. It seems like there's a lot more hurricanes. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention or something. Were there more than I just didn't know? I know the Ida one came through. Was there anything else that was pretty major?
I don't think so. I'm not great at following the passage of time in honesty, so I can't really compare it well to previous years because they kind of all blend together after a while. But I feel like to this year was, I don't know, I guess it was kind of normal.
Yeah, I think so too. I in the past I remember seeing like I remember it must have been a few years ago where it like seemed like there was a storm and then another one would come up and another one, and I was like, and they kept on coming right to this area, and I was like, oh please don't just go away. I just don't want to deal with that right
Yeah,
now. So, but yeah, this year just seemed to be I don't know it's a little lighter. I mean, you're right though. On average, it does seem to be pretty light. So I'm glad with that. So. Well, let's see. I will go ahead and bring up our question from last week. Do you curate your clothing style? If so, leave a comment. Let me go and bring that up here. We got 1,700 votes. There it is. Uh, and overwhelmingly at 70% with yes. Next down, we got 12% with a little of both. 8%, I'm sorry, 10% with they don't care, and 8% with no. So, what do you feel? How do you feel about that?
I feel like that makes sense to me. I feel like, yeah, I would expect a little more people to say that they don't care or maybe like a little bit of both, but yeah, that makes sense.
All right, well, let's look at these responses. Not sure what the first one says. Yes, yes, with an extra S with Mr. Philippe. Is that Miss? Yeah, Mr. Philippe. Yes, again. Yeah, I cure my clothes because they're okay, nice and sick, I guess. Uh, no, no, I'm happy with what I'm wearing. I don't want to be sexy to attract girls. That's Sandy Mohanar, regular contributor. And yes, so basically, yes, 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 and a couple of no's. So
Nice.
okay, well, I as far as curating my own clothes, describe that again because some people may not fully understand what you're referring to when you say that.
I meant like kind of like having a specific style or like having clothes that you really really love so that and like you make outfits out of them and stuff like that because I feel like having a specific style or aesthetic is one kind of like curating your clothes, but another kind is like kind of creating your own style out of clothes that you like.
Okay.
So, and I feel like that version is a little more like sustainable because you buy less clothing to keep up with trends. If you buy pieces that are like you really are passionate about or something. So yeah, that's just kind of like what I mean.
All right. So would you? I know you have your would the clothing the pants that we are your jeans that you've been showing us for the past few episodes, where you painted them. Is that would that be the same? Would that fall under that category?
To me, it would. I'm sure to other people it might not, because it like style is like subjective. Um, But like to me, yeah, I feel like that's one piece of clothing that I'm gonna try to keep with me for as long as possible because I really like it and it
Okay.
can be part of my style. So
Now, as far as anything else, is there any other way you style it? Because I think I told you I'm pretty bland. I just buy the same kind of shirts all the time, black button-down
right.
shirts and khaki pants, and that's pretty much about it. Um, but would you consider yours? What other? Do you have any other clothing styles that you would consider in that category?
Yeah, I like pattern pants of all kinds. I like really. fun patterns paired with like a bland top, or like a fun pattern top with uh like a basic pattern pants or something like that. I like that kind of contrast between patterns, I guess. And dresses and stuff that's like a that's easy to do because it's just like a whole outfit, you know. So
What was that? What was the style pants again? I want to see what that looks like.
just like fun patterns, any I like wide leg pants or like flared pants myself, but yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you said something more specific before, so I wasn't sure. So, gotcha. The yeah, I when I was younger, I actually wore a what was called a tashiki, but I got out of that. So I was trying a different style. I guess back when I was younger, I was trying to create like more of a hippie look, but and the funny part was everyone else was more preppy looking, so I kind of stood out. I wasn't part of the crowd. I was more of an anti-establishment type at that point. So
Right.
I don't know if
I
that
feel
was
like that style is pretty popular now, like the 70s style. I feel like I've seen a lot of people on Instagram and stuff wearing like really cool like bell bottoms and, you know, kind of more earthy tones and stuff like that. So
Is are bell bottoms worn by men?
everybody, I've seen everybody wearing them. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think for a while it was just a woman's thing. For a while, I think I think back in the '70s, men wore them, and then it came back for a while, and then it like when it came back, it was only women that wore them for a while. I think I could be wrong in that, and I wasn't sure if it was still a fashion statement or not. So
Right.
the as now as far as any because I haven't been keeping up, what other styles are there that are out there that might fall under this? Anything that's pretty commonplace?
I feel like one is there's this thing called cottage core style, which is like basically like pretending you're living on a farm sort of thing, and like a fairy world, like kind of like fantasy world slash like fairy kind of thing. Um,
Is this it?
yeah, that's the style. Um, that was in for a while. I know that like academia looks like wearing like stuff that you would think that maybe like boarding school kids would wear in like England, that kind of thing. That's a style.
Hmm.
There's like edgy looks. There's like e girl or e boy looks, which is like kind of like a form of edgy, but it's specifically for the internet. There's like a lot of different styles to go through. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on TikTok, especially. I feel like I don't have TikTok anymore, but I know that when I did, style like different kind of looks would come in and out of style so fast. It was really hard to keep up. Um, but yeah, a lot of different styles came from that. So
Hmm. Okay. That's been around for a while though, right? The e-look, going back to that one.
yeah, I guess I'm not sure. I don't really know much about the history of those styles because they're not really my thing. But I know that like groovy styles and retro styles and like I've even seen people dressing like Marilyn Monroe like specifically. So there's all kinds of trends out there.
So is it right now? Is it there? Is there any common trend right now? Or is there anything that's we're at the beginning of the 2020s? So is there anything for the 20s right now that actually stands on its own, or is it kind of like a mesh of other styles from the past?
I feel like right now, I don't know, I'm not 100% in the loop with this. But I feel like, especially right now, everyone's talking about the Met Gala. Um,
Met Gala, what's that? Met
oh, the
Gala.
Met Gala is, how do I explain this? It's basically the hottest fashion event of the year for celebrities, and each seat is like $100,000 or something like that. And companies buy the seats, and you can also individually buy the seats. I think it's for the Metropolitan Museum of Arts in New York City. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. I'm pretty sure it's just to like kind of get people to think about the Met, like the place. I
Hmm.
could be wrong. Um, and everyone's talking about it this year because some people think that the fashions were fine and that they were good and all that stuff, and other people think that they were complete crap and that basically nobody followed, barely any of the celebrities followed the um, kind of the theme, because every year there's a theme. I think in 2019 it was Heavenly Bodies, so that was kind of like the best year yet. Um, and then this year, oh, that was Lady Gaga. Her look last year was really really cool. She had like 4 layers of stuff on, and like she took off each layer like as she went. It was really cool. Um, but this year it was American fashion, and a lot of people like, okay, how do I explain? A lot of people wore things that just were not American at all. And it didn't really make sense. Even though Anna Wintour, who is the editor in chief of Vogue or something, even though she approves all of the looks and stuff, I feel like it just wasn't. A lot of people feel like a lot of people weren't really following the theme, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah.
Like one person, Kendall Jenner, she was like, I'm wearing this look from Audrey Hepburn from, I forget which movie, but it was from a specific movie. And I mean, you can't deny she looks great, but it just didn't follow the prompt because the movie that she was referencing with the look wasn't American. Audrey Hepburn wasn't American. And like the designer wasn't American. So none of it was American fashion. You know what I'm saying? That's Anna
Mhm.
Wintour.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was that? What? Who? This would
The
you?
woman, not her, the next one,
Oh, hold on. Let me go back.
the woman in the pink
There.
there.
Okay.
That's
Who's that?
Anna Wintour. She's scary. She's like Miranda Priestley from Devil Wears Prada.
Oh, okay. You saying she's scary because of her character or because of who she is in reality?
A little bit of both. I mean, I don't know much about her, but she's just intimidating. She's not scary. She's intimidating. She's cool. She's intimidating though. But
Really?
yeah,
Looking at that
basically,
picture, I sorry to interrupt. It just looks. She doesn't look intimidating at all to me. She looks very friendly, but I don't know.
it's just the job that she has. It's just like she's been doing it for so long and she's so good at it. I
Mhm.
feel like people who are really successful can be intimidating sometimes, especially if you really admire what they do.
I got you.
But yeah, basically, she approves everything. But this year, everyone just felt like people weren't following the theme. And it was like a lot of disappointment. Even though they looked great, it's like it's nothing that we haven't seen before. So that's kind of the feeling towards it. And if anyone wants to watch like an actual commentary video about it, there's one from this creator called Mina Lay, Mina space LE, and she like breaks everything down way better than I ever could. So just like watch her video if you want to know more about why the Met Gala fashion is being criticized heavily this year.
When did it
That's all I
take
have to say
place?
about it.
Okay. When did it take place?
Oh shoot. Again, with time, I'm not sure. It was like last week or the week before.
Okay, very recent then. Okay, I wasn't
Yeah.
sure. Okay,
Not all of these looks are from this year's Met Gala,
right.
but some of them are.
I noticed it's mostly women. I only saw one guy so far. Are there men that participate with the
Oh
fashion?
yeah, yeah. It's just that a lot of times it's okay. So this is another one of my qualms with the Met Gala. The Met Gala is a place to experiment with fashion and get really cool and funky and crazy. And a lot of the men come in just a black suit. And it's like you could be doing so much more. You could be like experimenting so crazily because this is the place to do it. This is like the one place that fashion rules, fashion rules be damned. This is a place to get wild and crazy with fashion and style for everyone, you know?
Interesting.
And just coming in a black suit is just like you I don't know how you could be doing less with the fashion, but whatever.
I got to be honest. I'd never heard of this before. Is it? I'll probably be. How long has this been going on? Is it like a few years?
No, it's been going on since at least the 70s. I'm not sure exactly when.
Oh wow.
But
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
for a while. I feel like I don't know. I heard about it first a couple of years ago. I
Is
feel
it
like it's becoming more popular now.
was it ever well, obviously internet nowadays you can see anything on the internet, but was before the internet was it was do you know if it was broadcast on regular TV? Because I don't remember seeing this. Maybe I did, and I just didn't know what it was, or maybe just ignored it.
I don't know. I know I remember something that came up this year on Instagram was a look that Cher wore from the 1970s Met Gala. Um, and so I know it's been going on for a while. I'm not sure how long or like what when it was broadcasted or anything. Oh, see, that's interesting. See, that's really cool and funky and crazy and out there.
Puffy shirt. The that is kind of interesting. I don't think I'd wear that though, but it is.
I mean, the Met Gala isn't supposed to be somewhere that you wear ordinary clothes, so it
Yeah,
makes sense.
I still I don't think I'd still wear it regardless if I was but it is interesting to see it when someone else wear it, that's for sure.
Right. But yeah, so uh her I guess Cher's look kind of like came back up this year. I think it was from the 70s.
1970s. That's oops. Let's see what that is. Oops, I've added an extra S in there.
Oh yeah, that's the one.
There you go. Which at the top? Oh, is that this right
Yeah,
here?
one of those top that's the one everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, can you believe Cher wore this back in the 70s?"
Oh,
Yeah.
I remember seeing something. Oh, I remember she made an appearance. This reminds me. I think it was Cher. She made an appearance on David Letterman. Remember? Do you know David Letterman?
Yeah.
Okay. The and she came on in an outfit that was so revealing. It almost looked like she was naked. I assumed she was wearing it was like this, or like a skin almost, but it was like it was see through, but I think it was like a skin colored, like body, what do you like outfit, like what do you call it, like spandex covering over her entire body, and it was like, and when she came on after she did a performance, she did her song, and then when she came, they went to a break, and when they came back, she was wearing something different. I think it was probably too revealing or too risque, I guess. But even though David Letterman's on like what you know, well, I think it was on at midnight anyway. I don't think it really mattered. But I think they wanted her to put something else on because she was dressed completely differently afterwards, or at least covering her body afterwards. But it really was like, whoa! It was like one of those things you had to do like a double and a triple take to see if she was actually naked or not. It was really bizarre. So,
Right.
but that's what this reminds me of. This outfit. I wonder if that's what that if it's based on that same outfit I saw. So this is more. This is what was going on recently. Is that what you're saying, or is this actually?
Yeah, everyone was talking about it, saying that it looked really, really cool.
No, I mean, is that Cher or is this from the 70s? I'm not, or is this a more modern? I can't tell.
Yeah,
Is that
that's Cher from the 70s.
okay? Okay, because okay, I just wasn't sure. Gotcha. Okay. Well, okay. Well, I feel out of place here because I've never something I've never heard of, and now I've learned something. Something that's been going on my entire life. I just never knew it there. It was there. So
Yeah, every year it's I don't like actively watch it. I kind of look at the fashions the day after and I see what's going on because I don't know, I've never really been into like watching award shows or anything like that. Um but yeah, it's just like really cool, fun to see what everyone can do with fashion and stuff like that.
hmm, okay. Well, do you have a question who you'd like to ask our viewers for this week?
Yes, I'm interested. Do you like sleeping in warm or cool temperatures?
Oh, that's an interesting one. Ah, in warm or cool temperatures. Any particular reason why you brought that this question came to mind?
Well, my parents like warmer temperatures, which I think is psychotic, and I like cool temperatures because I'm normal. And so I'd like to know what other people think. Because, okay, like truly, um, the Sleep Foundation or something, like there's like this sleep study uh, like research center or something like that. And they did this study that was like people usually sleep best and like go through all the REM cycles and stuff like that in temperatures from, I think it was like 68 to 72 or 74 degrees, which makes sense to me because I like being cold. So
Okay. Well, I think I spelled that right. Hold on a second. Did I? Hold on a second. Let me get rid of that extra word there. Keeps on playing.
TEM
TEON. That's wrong. Hold on a second. I see what. Hold on. I must have copied the wrong one. Sorry. Give me a second here. I thought I.
temperatures.
Yeah. Hold on a second. Hold on. Give me 1 second here. Why am I not getting? Okay. Hold on. I'm doing a. Okay. There we go. I was using a spell check on the other thing on the other page over there that you can't see me doing there. So there we go. Okay. I got it now. Okay. Got it. Okay. Do you like sleeping in warm or cold temperature? Want me to put cold? Like I said cool. You said cool. Want me to put cold instead?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Just put the basic warm or cold as the first three responses.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other responses you can think of? I said neither.
I don't sleep.
Don't sleep. Okay.
So we'll weed out the vampires.
All right. Let's see. I guess maybe both. You could put down either or, maybe something like either or.
Oh yeah, there's probably people that don't care.
And I guess we could put down like the last one could be like I don't care. I guess I don't know. Would that be the same as either? I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like that'd be kind of the same as either.
Okay. Do you want me to just do the four responses for this one?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you like sleeping in warm or cold temperatures? Okay. All right. There we go. All right. So, let's see. When I go to sleep, I've tried. I guess I don't know. I don't really. Sometimes it's when it gets too hot. I have to, obviously in the summertime, I have to keep the air conditioning pumping just to keep. I don't get because if it gets too hot, then I can't sleep. So, and if it gets too cold, I can't sleep. So I guess it's more middle of the road, more middle. So I try to keep it moderate, I guess would be the best way to put it. So,
Right. That makes sense.
I don't really, I guess I don't really think about it too much, I guess. But even it doesn't matter if it's winter or summer. I usually always sleep with a blanket, regardless. So that's just the way I am. So
Yeah, I feel like I wouldn't want to sleep without a blanket just because the monsters could get me. So
okay.
obviously.
Is that a reference to the movie we're about to talk about?
It wasn't, but now it is.
Okay.
It wasn't intentionally, but now that you said that, yes, of course. And I totally meant to do that. So
Okay, cool. Alrighty. Well, we'll come back to that one. Let me go ahead and bring this down here. Alrighty. So the movie we're going to discuss, we're going to talk about this week is Labyrinth, came out in 1976. And this was the first time you'd seen that, right?
yes.
Okay. Overall, how would you, well, we could talk about the movie. The plot, um, is, it's kind of, in my opinion, is kind of weak, but basically, the young woman played by Jennifer Connelly, she, apparently she was like only 14 or 15 years old in this. Did you know that?
I think I mean, like, she looked like she was 14 or 15. Yeah.
Really? Okay, she looked older than me, and I didn't. I thought she was more like maybe closer to 20. So I didn't realize it. But she maybe it's just the way she acts and carries herself. But she definitely seemed more mature than a 14-year-old or a 15-year-old to me. So the she makes a wish. She's frustrated with her baby brother. I forget what the brother's name is off the top of my head, but and so she wishes for him to be taken away, and the he's taken away, and the plot I said says kind of weak because basically it's just trying to get to where the where he's taken away by David Bowie's character, which is called Jareth, and Jareth is I don't know what is Jareth exactly. I'm not even sure. He's like the king of some fantasy world. What is his position? I don't even know.
I don't know either. I'm not gonna lie. I also think that the plot was a little. There's holes in it. I feel like I don't know. He seemed like he was this creation of her mind, um, or like a somehow a magical fantasy. Maybe it's one of those movies where it's like you only know about this magical fantasy person or being or whatever when you are a kid, and then when you grow up, like you stop believing or something, and then they disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like a Neverland sort of thing.
Right. As the story progresses, she has to go through a labyrinth or like a large maze essentially. And when she excuse me, when she finally gets to David Bowie's character, she basically she says something to the effect like his powers have no effect on her, and so basically the story comes to an end. And I'm like, well, what was the whole point of the story then? It seemed I don't know. It seemed kind of weird. It's like there was no real resolve at that point. And she goes back and she meets along the way. It's like it's similar to that of like the Wizard of Oz, in the sense that she met a few different oddball type characters that become companions of hers, and she likes them, and the it's also it's kind of like a standard story. It was directed by Jim Henson, the puppeteer, but it was also produced by by George Lucas, and George Lucas has that story that kind of storytelling can't say it, the storytelling style where the main character meets a bunch of different characters and progresses along, and it evolves into something more, and then there's a resolve, and then the story comes to an end. So he does that a lot. In his stories, like Star Wars is a prime example. You have Luke Skywalker in the very first movie. He meets a whole bunch of people, and they come together, and at the very end they have a big battle, and they work together to resolve what's going on. So this one kind of works in that way, but there's no real resolve. It's just like she finally meets him, and it's like that's it. I was like, what was the whole point of the kidnapping then, or whatever you want to call it?
Right. Yeah, no, I felt the same way. It seemed like it was just a more of a visual journey. I don't know how to explain it. It seemed like one of those things that was like more for the visuals that they could create and less about the uh like the words or the meaning of the story or the plot or whatever. Because I recently watched this movie called The Meg. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's a kind of a newer movie, and it's one of those movies that's like I'm here not for the dialogue, not for the plot, but for the cool CGI and for the violence and the, sharks and all that stuff, because it was about this giant megalodon shark in the ocean or
Right.
whatever, and it was like kind of like Jaws but with a megalodon. And so I feel like it was one of those kinds of movies where it's not so much about the yeah, just what I said. It's not really about the
Not
plot or anything. It's
not
not
about the
plot
plot.
heavy.
It's okay. Yeah, okay, because I did not see this when I was a child. And obviously you did not either. So, if you had saw this when you were a child, do you think this would have affected you more? A lot of people, when they see something when they're a child, I've noticed tend to be, it becomes more like nostalgic, or they tend to like it better more. And if they saw it when they were an adult, they probably wouldn't have liked it as much. Well, how would you think this movie falls in that category?
Yeah, I feel like for me, I probably would have been afraid of the movie if I saw it when I was a kid, knowing myself, knowing like what movies I would be scared of. I'd probably be scared of like uh what's that not it's not like a monster, but the big hairy thing that she's like
Oh,
walking with that she
Bluto?
finds.
It's called Bluto, I think, right?
Yeah, I definitely would have been scared of him.
Oh,
Just just knowing myself as a kid, I totally would have been frightened by that. Um, so
I
I
get
don't think I would have loved it, but I do think I would not have paid attention to the plot like at all. So I
mm.
don't think it would have mattered, you know.
Well, when this movie came out, it did not do very well. In fact, I don't remember ever when it came out. I don't remember ever even seeing anything for it. I just remember, and I discussed this with you before last week. The that my best friend, his name was Trevor. He wanted me to see this movie, so we saw it on VHS or something, I think. And he was basically in love with the young woman, Sarah Jennifer Connelly. So I think that's why he wanted to see it more than anything else. But I remember watching it. I don't remember really. I it had been so long since I seen it. Basically, it was almost like watching it a first time again. I remember her; she really stood out. Her performance, who she is, she just everything about her, and David Bowie. Other than that, I don't remember. I remember there's a lot of Muppets and puppets, but other than that, I couldn't remember anything else that was really going on. Those are the only two things that really stood out from way back in the day when I saw it. But the I don't remember really liking it though back then either. I think I had the same reaction then that I did now. It's just like that's okay. It's not great. I wouldn't really go out of my way to watch it again, kind of a thing. But the it's I wouldn't say it's bad though either. So there are a lot of things about it that are good, but it's the since it was lacking in any kind of definitive plot for me, it just seemed to it really seemed to fall apart toward like I said towards the end there. The puppetry was really done well. The David Bowie's musical numbers seemed a little dated in some ways. It definitely seemed like it was from the '80s. But other than that, it wasn't. Those were some good things about it. And the puppetry, like I'm getting back to the puppetry, a lot of that was really good. One of the writers of this was Terry Jones from Monty Python, and you could see his humor in there. There was a scene. Let me go and bring this up so we can start talking about this. Here's the movie. There was a scene where they were in an underground area, and this big thing comes towards them, uh, and it's like it's gonna yeah, they're right here. This scene right here. Do you remember this scene? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's coming towards them, and as it passes by them, it turns out there's just a couple little little whatever they are, moving it. I'll play with it. So doing a little bit of a. You can see as it goes by, there's just a couple little people running it, which was really funny. I think, and that came across that it seems like something you'd see on Mighty Python. So
Yeah, for sure.
that was that seems like a Terry Jones contribution there. So the and like I said, it's not bad, and there's a lot of stuff that's good. It's just the weakness, the plot for the movie just kind of did it. If they had maybe a better storyline, maybe I would have liked it a little better. How do you feel about the what everything that was in the movie?
I did. I liked the it was like a fun time for my eyeballs. You know, it was like my brain wasn't really like this is a great plot, this is great dialogue, whatever. It was just a fun adventure for the eyes because it was just, you know, I feel like it was artistic, but you know, I feel like the movie that we saw last week had a stronger plot and it was artistic. So, you know, obviously it's not the best movie, but it was fine.
Mhm. Apparently, I was watching a few reviews before we did our show and on YouTube, and some of the people were saying that it didn't do well when it came out, which yeah, I believe, and it's actually gotten a cult following over the years. And now a lot of people seem to like it, which is pretty cool. The I could see like going back to that whole idea that maybe people saw it when they were kids, and maybe that's why because it's more of a nostalgic thing than anything else. Um, the the story when you have a fantasy story though, it seems to be to me it needs to be a little bit more compelling. It just seemed to be lacking that aspect of it as well. It wasn't really like you said, it's more visual than anything else. It's like a visual ride, I guess.
Yeah.
And I just didn't really see other than that it just seemed a little like it was just where's this going. She keeps on walking through the labyrinth, okay, and we're going here, we're going there, but there was no real desire for me to really be involved, what's the word? Not involved, but to be have my attention drawn to the story, to what I was watching. I agree with the visualizations part. That was pretty good. So a lot of the visualizations are very well done. But other than that, yeah, I just don't see. If anybody out there likes it, that's cool. I'm not going to condemn you for liking something. I just don't really feel it to be over. I know I'm repeating myself here, but it's just no overall. It's just not really that compelling for me. So
Yeah. I feel like that's a pretty good summary. This part was interesting though. Uh, I feel like the fact that I don't know, it just seems like a huge plot point that or I guess a huge like hole in the plot is that the fantasy guy, Jareth, he could construct her room, he could do all this stuff, as he said himself, all for her. But if he really didn't want her to get the baby boy, then it should not have been very hard. If he really wanted to keep Toby, I think,
mm,
her little brother, it would not have been difficult at all. And that's, I mean, I feel like that's really simple. He could have just, used his mind or something, or directed her, or had people direct her to like a cage or something like that, and then just locked her up until the last minute.
yeah, the and also that I wanted to also mention that Jim Henson, the director, one of the movies he did before, I don't know if he directed it, was Dark Crystal. You ever seen that movie?
I have not.
I would say that movie. Well, I was much younger when I saw that one, so I might have a nostalgia thing going on here. But I remember being that one being more compelling, and that was also it felt visually very similar to this one as far as the puppetry goes. It was a lot of puppets, and it was in a fantasy world like this, and the thing that was different though, it was completely in a fantasy world, whereas this one has you're starting off in reality in a real world, and then she goes into a fantasy world, whereas that one is completely 100% in that fantasy world. That one seemed a little bit better to me. So, and that one had a definite story flow. Um,
Right.
the and both of the movies definitely felt like they were designed more for kids, but adults could be enjoying it at the same time. So, if I had any kids, I'd definitely say, I'd say watch this. Well, you said you'd be scared of it, though, right? I don't think I'd be scared if I watched this as a kid. So,
Yeah, I think that's a scene that I really would have hated when I was a kid, the little goblin war or whatever, the little
at the
fight that
end,
they have. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of this movie that I really would not have liked. But I think we've talked about this before. When I used to watch The Princess Bride when I was a kid, I would make my dad skip over the ROUS's scenes because I was scared of them. So there was not a very high threshold, and there still is not a very high threshold for like what scares me. So
the yeah, I haven't seen that movie for a while. That's Large Rats, right? The large is that what it is?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
I was terrified.
The yeah, that's a fun. That's actually a pretty funny movie. The I I I I saw that when I was an adult, so I don't think I would. I was definitely not afraid of that one, but I could see that as a kid being definitely having a fear factor there. So. I will say the town at the beginning. This is a little getting off topic, but the town she's running through at the beginning looks really nice. I think this, if I remember this correctly, is filmed in New York, and then the studios where they filmed in like this small town looks pretty nice. I like that. I'm wondering where
Yeah.
exactly. So I could probably look that up too. But the rest of it was mostly on like obviously on a stage set. Oh, here we go. At the very beginning, I you probably saw this, but it scrolls past a bunch of books. There you go. Let me see if I can jump ahead real quick. Yeah, we see. I'll go back, and the books that are shown. There's the Wizard of Oz and Snow White. There's also one that was shown real quickly. I wrote it down because I always forget the name of the book. You probably know what it is. Where the Wild Things Are.
Yeah, I saw that one. That was fun.
Yeah, so there's some the interesting thing I one of the reviews I saw talked about the fact that Maurice Sendak, I had to write his name down. I don't memorize this stuff, but he's the guy that wrote Where the Wild Things Are. Actually, had a legal issue before the movie could be released because he said it copied everything that he did, or copied a lot of the things that he did in his book. So which I have not seen that book since I've been a kid, so I don't really remember what it was about. I just remember big creatures, and that's all I remember. So, have you seen it? Have you read the story? Do you remember what the story is about?
I have definitely read it. I don't really remember what it was all about, honestly. I think it was I think it was like this kid, maybe this kid was reading a book or something, and then they got transported into the world or something like that of like the wild things. And then he was like scared at first, and then they became friends. And then I know there was one scene where they started dancing and they had a party. Um, but I don't really remember the plot very well.
Yeah, there's the book right there. I was able to pause it right at the right spot there, so you can see it. So, um, drawing to going back to the being scared, the movie that I talked about before that was also done by Jim Henson, The Dark Crystal. That movie was intended to scare children, but not in a way. So if you were a child and you saw, it, you probably wouldn't. You might have been very afraid of that one if you're afraid of certain things that you're seeing in other movies. That one would probably have scared you when you were a child. But that was intent. That was the intentional. That was the intent. Excuse me. Of that movie was to scare children, but not in a way to hurt them, but to I forget how they described that. There's a way to scare children and tell a good story at the same time. I forget what that is. I can't remember how that's put, but the Dark Crystal is intended to scare children, but not in a way to like make them terrified for the rest of their lives. I can't remember how that's put. It's a storytelling style that was used a lot. Um, I guess kind of like when you have the story where you have the old woman who bakes the two children in an oven. I can't remember. Like Hansel and Gretel, is that what that is? I can't remember if I remember that correctly. Well, one of the where she cooks the one of them or something. It's one of those kind of scary stories. I can't remember. I'm probably getting that one incorrect as well. So
No, that's right. It's Hansel and Gretel. She like lures them into her house because her house is made of candy, and then they're like eating all the candy, and she's fattening them up. And then she puts them in a pot and cooks them.
okay, yeah, okay, yeah. So yeah, it's that. Yeah, the Dark Crystal is that style of is scary storytelling to scare kids.
Interesting.
So,
I know
um,
that the one of the books she had was Grimm's fairy tales or something.
oh
The
really?
Brothers Grimm. They in like I don't know what time period they are from or anything, but they wrote the original like the original fairy tales and stuff that Disney used, like Cinderella and stuff, except it was literally grim. Like they were very uh like grotesque and violent. They were still kids books at the time. Um but they were like I don't know if you've ever heard of them or I feel like a
I
few
have.
people.
I have. I know I've heard the name for sure, but I don't know as much as what you know for sure. I mean, I very little. Definitely recognize the name as soon as you said that. But I brought up that scene. You can actually see the book there. Go ahead. And
Right. Sorry, I think it like cut out for a minute. But um the basically they wrote like I know there's a lot of people who are like mega fans of the Grimm stories, like the original ones, but they're like fairy tales and they're really creepy and scary and like none of the princesses have the same plots or endings or anything. Um, and I think they were yeah, they were kids books at the time and it was just like a different time when kids I guess could kind of read that kind of stuff and it was like you know how in modern times Hansel and Gretel get away from the witch before she eats them. In their book they don't get away, they get eaten by the witch. And it's like the message is like don't I guess don't talk to strangers and don't go into creepy candy houses or something. I don't know. um but it was like and like I guess in their version of Little Red Riding Hood, I'm not 100% sure about this by the way, but I'm pretty sure they did the original one and they had it so like I guess the wolf one or something. The wolf gets everyone or something like that. I don't know. But basically, it's just gruesome and grim stories.
Gotcha.
So
Okay, that's interesting. Okay. And then was it Disney that made them more, or is it just modern storytelling that made them less gruesome?
it could have been a little bit of both. It definitely could have been like Disney really kind of like cemented the idea that kids should be hearing stories that are positive and happy and don't have any violence in them, or don't have much violence in them. um, that could be what like really cemented it, but it probably started before them.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting. Okay. Now this movie is not a. I mean, except for that little battle scene towards the end, is there anything else that would you think would have been scary for kids?
For me, when I knew that it would not have been a movie that I would watch as a kid, when the gremlins or like the goblins or whatever started stealing the kid, like in the
Okay.
beginning.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would have stopped watching when, yeah, in that pic I would have been like, well, this is enough for me. I'm gonna change the channel.
Yeah. But I found this one to be they were more goofy than anything else. So, um, I mean, there was the one they're kind of creepy, but then the one with the right here, it was like he was being more goofy, I guess, than the other one. So it made it
Yeah.
more comical. So, but then but they don't really show. They just disappear, obviously. Oh, and then of course they do show the little. The baby is there's like a it's like actually when it disappears, it was like there's something in there, but they never showed what it was. Like moving around and making noises. And then when she's walking around, you can see like a goblin or whatever walking down the hallway or whatever. Like
Yeah.
so. And when he comes in, he's the owl, right? Is that right?
Yes, he's like the moon. What is it? What are they called? They're like the moon face owl or moon head owl or something. Maybe it's a barn owl. I don't know.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, there we go. Yeah. So it's interesting because considering this was produced by George Lucas, you'd think they would have had a more interesting transition from being from going from the owl to the human part of it, since he's really into the special effects, and the CGI of the owl was very outdated looking, but at the same time, since this came out in '86, it's actually pretty advanced for the time it came out. So.
Yeah. Do you remember that scene where they were dancing, where she was lost in the forest, and they were like these creatures that could bop their heads around, were
Yeah.
dancing around her? That was like so so obviously on a green screen. I thought it was funny. I mean, it was probably great for its time or whatever, but it was funny to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This kind of reminds me. Have you ever seen the show Lazytown?
Yes, I think. Is it a
Okay.
kids show?
Yeah, it's a kid show. A little girl
Yeah.
wears a pink outfit, and but she and there's a guy named Spartacus, I think. I
Sporticus. Yes, I
Spartacus.
loved that show when I was a kid.
Okay. And then there's another guy that plays the creepy. They're the only three that are actually human. The rest are all puppets. So, and they
Yeah.
kind this scene kind of reminds me because it's like in that show, the puppets are being like kind of green screened and behind, so you can't really see them. That's what this kind of reminds me of a little bit.
I would never have guessed because I haven't seen it since I was a kid. And when I was a kid, obviously, I feel like as a kid your imagination is so powerful, it just kind of like fills in the blanks when where there are blanks. Like how I feel like a lot of my generation remembers like Toy Story a lot better animated than it actually is. It's the same kind of thing with Lazy Town. I feel like if a kid was watching this and they weren't terrified, their brain would be like, this is completely normal, there's nothing wrong with this, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I to be honest, I saw the scene. It's probably because the green screen is so obvious. I just didn't even think about it. But you're right, it is. I just didn't even. I knew it's there. I just didn't really think about it. But that as soon as I saw that, as soon as you said that, Lazy Town was the first thing that came to mind. So
That's funny. Yeah. I really loved that show when I was a kid. That's great.
yeah. By the way, the guy that played the was he the antagonist? What do we call him? The creepier?
Sporticus?
Was he the bad guy, or Sporticus was the one that was her friend, right? And
Yeah, Sporticus was the good one. I don't
yeah,
remember what the bad guy was called, but I think it was kind of like a show that was like, get moving. That was kind of the main idea of that one was like exercise or something. So Sporticus was the
was yeah,
protagonist.
right. And then the one that was the antagonist, or whatever, I can't remember his name, but the he was a apparently the actor passed away within the past couple of years.
Oh,
So he played. I thought his character was actually pretty funny. So
yeah, there are a few funny. I feel like a couple of years ago maybe it's because of the death, but a few funny moments from his character in the show came up. I don't remember what, but yeah.
yeah. So now jumping back to these scenes right here. Now this scene was interesting. Now the age difference between these two is quite quite large.
Yeah, I was cringing the whole time. I was like, "David, what are you doing? Stop. That's so freaking weird and also illegal. Stop. That's
Well,
not
depending on what state.
good."
It might be legal in West Virginia, but I don't, you know.
Yeah, or Europe or something. I don't know. It shouldn't be though. That's so
Because
creepy. Don't do
David
that.
Bowie, I'm looking at his age right now. He was born in 1947, so he's about roughly my parents' age. My parents are born in 45 and 46, so he's about my parents' age. And she was born a couple years after I was, so she's about roughly my age. So
Oh no, David, stop. Like that's all I was thinking the whole time. I was like, stop, don't do that. That's so creepy.
she's about just about 2 years younger than me. She was born in December of 1970. So yeah, so but yeah, that's the there was a one of the reviews I watched talked about a comic book that came out after this movie was released. They did that back in the 80s. I remember they did that for Star Wars, and they would, I don't know if they still do that nowadays, but they would actually release a comic book for the movies. And in this particular comic book, the person who was doing the review showed the fact that he almost tried to kiss her in the comic book.
Eesh. Yeah,
So
that's they could have not done that, I guess.
but I to be honest, I didn't. When I saw this until I looked her up, I did not know she was only like 15 years old. I really thought she was closer to 20, which would put her in a more legal range, but still kind of creepy. But still, at the same time, I thought she was older.
Yeah. Yeah,
It
it was just weird, but yeah.
it
She
kind
looked
of.
cool though.
Oh yeah,
Her
yeah,
hair was cool, for
hmm
sure.
yeah. She this kind of reminds me. I don't want to bring up something that's too negative, but do you remember the TV show Ren and Stimpy?
I don't think I watched it. I don't know if it was on air when I was watching TV when I was a
Okay.
kid.
The creator of the show, John Chris Falusi. Have you heard the controversy that he was involved in? Um,
No.
he was like 39 years old when the show was being produced back in the 90s, and he was dating a 16-year-old girl at the time who was
Ew.
an intern. She was
Gross.
not only that, she was an intern on his show for his company that was producing the show. So
Oh no, that's disgusting.
yeah,
Yeah.
when I was teaching, one of the things I have this policy that if you're in a position like in a leadership position of any kind, especially like if you have a person who's doing an internship, you never ever fraternize in that way with that person. Yeah, that's regardless of what their age is, it's like that's wrong. So like I had students that were like most of my students were males, but a couple of them were females. But the thought never ever crossed my mind of ever doing that. Doing anything other than teaching those women in my classes. It would be a major violation for me to cross that line. And
Yeah. I feel like a person in like power, like even if it's just the power of being the manager of a company or something, when there are people below, it's like there's like there's a major power imbalance, and it's like you don't. I feel like it would be kind of pressuring someone into doing something, whether you know it or not. You know?
hmm hmm and the story what happened was a few years ago. the woman who was 16 at the time came forward and complained about it. Um, I agree that she was in the right mostly, but I do think that she was also she should also be held responsible because at the time said it was a completely 100% consensual relationship. So yeah, I know it's wrong for him to do that, but at the same time, there's some gray area in there. So it's not 100%. He definitely did something wrong for sure, and he's 100% guilty. But but she also was there consensually, and there might be some arguments that maybe she was too young, but at the same time, she still could think for herself too. So she could have stepped out at any time. So I don't know. How do you feel about that?
I feel like for me personally, and for a lot of, I don't know, I feel like the general idea is like if someone is underage, even if it's 17, they cannot consent. They're a child. You're a legal child. You don't have a concept of money, or I didn't have a concept of time. Your grasp on relationships with other people, even just friendships, is pretty flimsy. Romantic relationships, even flimsier. So for me, it's like it's a child. Doesn't matter if they're 16, 17, if they say that they, you know, consent. It's like, can they really? I don't think so.
Well, yeah, what I'm getting at is it's not. I'm not. She is a victim for sure, but it's not like I would say like she could have stepped out at any time. I mean, that's what I'm saying, and she didn't. And so if when she was 16, she should have just said no, and she didn't. And it came across more like the reason she came out. It was like 20 years later. She came out later. It was more or less she felt like she was a jilted lover more than anything else. It didn't feel like she was doing it because she was a victim of someone who was older than her, but rather she just felt like she loved him and he went for someone else, and that she was just trying to get revenge on that. That's what it came across as to me.
Ah, I mean, I guess there's a gray area in every situation, and I don't know anything about that whole situation. So,
Mm.
but yeah, I feel like every person who's underage is like, I feel like, no offense to people who are underage, but you're just kind of like dumb. And I mean, like I was, and I kind of still am. And it's just like young people might say that they know a lot, or say that they know what they're doing and stuff like that, but it's like not really.
Mhm. Also, he at the same time when she came out, another woman came forward, but she was 19. So legally, she was at the age of consent. So as far as I'm concerned, I know she was obviously very young, and he shouldn't have been doing that because she was also working for him. So that part of it I think was wrong, but she doesn't have any legal standing as far as I'm concerned. So like, what he did was wrong still, but at the same time, because of her age, I don't think she really could say anything. So
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like the whole thing with like a person in power and an intern or whatever is like, how can you say no? Because what if it's like the thought is like, what if you say no and then you lose your internship, and then you've wasted all that time, and then maybe they make it so that I mean, you never know what someone is going to do, and you never know how someone is going to react to no. So it's like, what if they decide to ruin my future in this field? Like, what if they're that powerful? And I'm sure he was that powerful. If like one of those girls went to another corporation or something and was like, can I have an internship here, he might have something bad to say about them or something like that, because they didn't do what he wanted them to do.
mhm. I have another story. I'm not going to mention any names. This is a scenario that I saw. When I was working at a radio station in DC. And I got to be careful because I think I don't want to mention. I really should mention any names on this, but the person who was the director of the operations for the station started dating one of the interns there, and he was definitely in his 40s, and she was probably in her 20s. And they actually ended up getting married after that. So I was when I found that out, I was like, I thought that was so wrong. I mean, because the same thing. She was an intern. Now, after the internship was over, that would be a little different. But they started doing it when they were when she actually when she was still doing the internship at the station itself. So and that was complete. I think she was probably like 24, 23. So and like I said, I'm not going to mention any names on this. So
Right. Yeah, I feel like that's one of the hard parts about this kind of stuff. It's like you never really can tell when you know the heart wants what it wants. You never really can tell when it's a genuine situation or when one person is taking advantage of the other person. You know, that's why these things are so controversial, probably.
mhm. And but yeah, I thought that was just so bad. I mean, I hadn't actually started teaching at that point, but I still had my principles as far as you don't do that with people in that position. So, but
Yeah.
but I will say, as far as I know, they did actually get married and they were living happily ever after, I guess. So I don't know. So, I'm not going to question that. I mean, as long as I don't know, I don't know. I haven't seen either one of them in like I guess. Well, I did keep tabs on the guy, only because he became he got a higher position after I left the station, and then he eventually left for whatever reason. It wasn't a bad reason that he left. So I did keep tabs on his career slightly, only because I keep in touch with the with what's going on in the radio business. So I did know that he left eventually. I don't know if he was still married to her though when he left. So I don't know what's going on with that. So I don't know
Right.
if he. I would think that someone that young marrying somebody that old would probably the marriage would not last that long. But I don't know. I'm just I don't know how well they felt about each other. So
Yeah, I feel like a lot of marriages don't last anyway, so
yeah, the so let me see. I was gonna. Was there anything else about the movie? Oh, there was something I thought was kind of interesting. This one of the picks that they originally went before they went with David Bowie was Michael Jackson was going to be playing his character, um, which would be kind of interesting. I can't imagine him being a. I know he's not a bad actor. He's not a great actor either, but I've seen him in things like he was in. You ever seen The Wiz?
The
It's
Wiz. I
it's
don't
the
think
ni-
so.
1970s version of The Wizard of Oz.
I
And
don't think so.
okay, he wasn't bad in that. So I could see him doing things as far doing the same kind of things. But I think David Bowie definitely is a more of a slightly menacing, more character. He would portray it more better than Michael Jackson. Um, other than that, there were a couple of other choices for the woman before they picked Jennifer Connelly. I don't think there were too many that were really. I mean, there were women that were became well-known actresses later on, but it wasn't like I don't know. She did a very good job in the role. If they picked someone else, I probably would have seen her being much younger. That character being much younger than she came out to me. Um, because like I said, I really thought that she was like like at least 20 years old. She really pulled that off. She just comes off as so older in this movie than she really looked. So I was just surprised how young she was.
Yeah, I feel like when you were talking about David Bowie and Michael Jackson, I feel like Michael Jackson would have made it less scary. I agree with you on that. Um, I feel like there's a lot. I guess I don't know about as many like actresses from that time or actors, honestly. Um, but yeah, I feel like they were both pretty suited for the roles that they played.
The
I mean, yeah,
go ahead.
no strong opinions on it, you know. Could have been anyone. I really would not have noticed too much of a difference.
Gotcha. The I stopped it right here. There's that image behind David Bowie to his on his right shoulder, behind his right shoulder. The face. Did you see those faces that were in the movie?
Yeah, that one. There was a lot of little kind of like semi-hidden faces, or I guess Easter egg faces or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's actually I don't know if you know. I didn't know this, so I had to. Someone had to explain this to me on one of the movie reviews I saw. That's actually David Bowie's face, in case you're wondering. So.
Oh, I had no idea. In the scene before, it was like fully together, right? Or like earlier in the scene, I guess.
Hello, are you there? Are you? Hello?
Yeah, what happened? I feel
Sorry.
like,
Yeah, my browser my browser just crashed. I apologize for that. So
oh, I was trying to figure it out. I was trying to I was trying to go to the having issues thing and figure out what's going on because I could not tell if anything was still working.
I didn't. Yeah, all of a sudden my browser, everything else on my computer was there except for that one browser. It's just like it just went down. I was like, oops. So sorry about that. That was my end. I don't know what happened exactly. It just disappeared, and I was like, whoops. And of course, to log back into the StreamYard, I have to get this. I have to get a code, and that takes a while. So I couldn't just log right back in. It takes about a minute to get back in there. So that's what happened. So
Right. Okay. I don't remember what I was talking about. Oh, when they showed the whole face, was it wait. No, yeah, it was like before earlier in the scene they showed the whole face and that was David Bowie's face. Was he like singing or something?
there, that face right. Oh, hold on a second. I have to bring it back up. Sorry.
It's
I have.
okay.
Give me a second. Yeah, I think this is what you're talking about. It was apparently that face did. I didn't notice, but it showed up in several locations in the movie. There, is that what you're talking about right there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. I see it now. Okay.
yeah. The face actually appears in multiple points in the movie, so I did not notice. It appears at least in three or four other locations. It's just like an Easter egg kind of a thing. So, um, but yeah, that I would not have known. And as soon as I heard it was his face, yeah, it does kind of resemble him. So,
Yeah, I feel like it is one of those things that like I I would not have noticed if nobody said it. But I feel like I saw faces a few times. I don't think I ever saw his face. Like I never recognized it as his face or whatever.
mhm. This
But
is that.
I know that I noticed them a few times. I don't remember when. I just thought, oh, he likes faces.
the there was that neat three dimensional type of thing where you have to look at it from a certain angle just to see it too. So it just
Yeah,
doesn't.
that's always fun. I feel like those art pieces, I'm always confused because I never understand how people make them. Maybe like they probably have to do some kind of math, so I'm never going to do that. But they probably have to do some sort of like calculations or something to figure out how it'll work and look
Right.
right.
Yeah, yeah, that's I'm the I yeah, you got me. I've tried to go for the solution there too. I don't know. It's done well though. I'll say that. So,
Yeah, for sure. I feel like there's a few of those like kind of art styles in museums and stuff. I feel like I've seen them more recently in like I don't know, in the past 10 years it's gotten kind of more popular maybe. Maybe
hmm.
that's just me seeing them.
I haven't been to an art museum in a long time, so I didn't know. So, it obviously it looks seems like more like modern art. What would you classify that as?
I don't know. I feel like it could be like modern art in the sense of like when Jackson Pollock and like what's his name? Well, yeah, when Jackson Pollock was kind of modern art, that kind
Hmm.
of thing. Um, I guess that's yeah. I guess it could be. It's like sculptural. I feel like I don't know of people doing that style of art before the like 1900s.
Hmm. Yeah, this seems like it's more, yeah, definitely more modern in that sense. At least that's the way it comes across to me. I'm not the artist you are, so you would know more than me. So
Yeah, no, I don't know much about sculpture yet. I'll get there.
okay, I need to let's see. I want to log back in so we can see our question. Hold on a second. Unfortunately, it's gonna be a second here. I got I have what they call two-step login, whatever they call it. I have a little special key. So give me one second here. Since my browser crashed, it logged me back out of my YouTube channel. So give me one second while I do this. I have to unplug my microphone. Give me one second.
Go for it. Go for it. I'm going to talk about the latest book that I've been reading. I've been reading The Count of Monte Cristo. I just started it. It's like a really long book. It's a classic. It's by Alexander Dumas or Dumas. I think it's Dumas because it's French originally. And it was from like 1840 something, and I thought I wouldn't like it because it's elderly. But I was proven wrong. It made me laugh in like the first 2 or 3 chapters. It really made me laugh. It's really interesting, and the story that it's based off of is a true story. Um, Let me see. Here we go. Uh, this briefly, the story is this, like what it was based off of. Um, Picard, a young man from the south of France, was imprisoned in 1807, having been denounced by a group of friends as an English spy shortly after he had become engaged to a young woman called Marguerite.
Can you hold on a second? Can you hear me? Okay, right now.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
yeah. I was just
Sorry.
telling people the basis of the story that I'm reading,
That's fine.
because it's like a classic, but it's actually really interesting.
You go
Should I
ahead.
keep going? It's not much. I don't
No,
think it's.
no, go. That's fine. I had actually said something. It turned out when I plugged back in, it muted my mic. I didn't know that. So I actually said something earlier and you didn't hear me. I just had to make sure you could actually hear me. Go ahead. You're fine.
Oh, okay. The denunciation was inspired by a cafe owner, Matthew Lupian, who was jealous of Picard's relationship with Marguerite. Picard was eventually moved to a form of house arrest in Piedmont and shut up in the castle of Fenestrelle. Also, excuse me if my pronunciation is bad. I'm really bad at French accents. Where he acted as a servant to a rich Italian cleric. When the man died, abandoned by his family, he left his money to Picard, whom he had come to treat as a son, also informing him of the whereabouts of a hidden treasure. With the fall of Napoleon in 1814, Picard, now called Joseph Luchaire, was released. In the following year, after collecting the hidden treasure, he returned to Paris. Here he discovered that Marguerite had married Lupian. This is where it gets really interesting. Disguising himself and offering a valuable diamond to a lute, the one man in the group who had been unwilling to collaborate in the denunciation, he learned the identity of his enemies. He then set about eliminating them, stabbing the first one with a dagger on which he printed the words "Number 1" and burning down Lupian's cafe. He managed to find employment in Lupian's house, disguised as a servant called Prosper. However, while this was going on, a lute had fallen out with the merchant to whom he had resold the diamond, and had murdered him and had been imprisoned. On coming out of jail, he started to blackmail Picard. Picard poisoned another of the conspirators, lured Lupian's son into crime and his daughter into prostitution, and then finally stabbed Lupian himself. But he quarreled with Alute over the blackmail payments, and Alute killed him, confessing the whole story on his deathbed in 1828. So, that is the true story, allegedly true story, that the book that I'm reading is about. And it's been, adapted into a bunch of different stuff. I think Frankenstein is kind of like taken from a part of the story. It's a really, really long book. It's like 1,200 pages, but so far it's pretty good. It's funny. The characters are witty, and it doesn't stick too closely to like an original story that inspired it, but it is like I can see where it's going. I can see how it's going to become kind of like this I guess chase of murders, I don't know. I guess kind of that kind of thing. That's that's the one I'm reading. That's
Oh,
like the version of it.
okay. Yeah. The only reason I know when you said the name Dumas, the movie The Shawshank Redemption, this book is mentioned in the movie. So and the the main character is played by Tim Robbins, has to correct the one of the other prisoners in the movie how to pronounce his last name is Dumas. So it's a very memorable scene. So that's the only reason I know how to pronounce his name is because of that movie. So
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a lot of the words, that's the only problem that I'm having is like the French language is definitely one of the languages that I have a really hard time understanding, like how to pronounce it in my head even.
hmm.
So that's the kind of the only thing, because a lot of the towns and like the people are named names that I have no idea how to pronounce.
Now, are you reading the French version or is it translated to English? And you're just
It's Yeah, it's translated to English. This one is translated by Robin Buss. Um, but it's translated English, but like the names of the towns and the people are still French. Because that's like the basis of the story. Like a huge part of the story is the environment that it's in. It's supposed to be like Parisian yet Mediterranean sort of thing. Kind of like exotic, and I guess that like that's what they were writing in the introduction. It was supposed to be like exotic and kind of like intriguing. That's it.
Hmm. Now, is it about a prison break? Is that right? The story itself.
Um, well, it's kind of I don't want to ruin it. I mean, I don't know how many people are going to read it, but like I don't really want to ruin any part of it so far. Um, the main character is Edwin, and he's trying to avoid going to prison because someone who was plotting against him wrote a little note to um, I don't remember who the people. I guess the police back then, or like the people who were kind of like scouting out traitors for like Napoleon Bonaparte or whatever, because they want to eliminate people who were traitoring for him. I don't know how to explain it. I'm not good at politics. But yeah, um, he was wrongly accused of being a traitor, basically, and that's like punishable by death. Um, and he's kind of like trying to get out of it because he's like, I didn't do that, and also I have to marry someone soon, so please don't, kill me. Um, so that's kind of where it's going right now. I guess he's going to get imprisoned on an island, and then he's gonna have to escape
Okay.
somehow, and then go back and like get his revenge. It's kind of like a revenge story. That's what it is. It's a revenge story.
Okay. Oh, I don't. I'm not trying to. I respect your not wanting to spoil anything, but the book came out before I think anyone was born at this point, so I don't think you'll really be spoiling too much with a story that old.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. And plus there's a lot of movies and stuff. I haven't watched any of them because I know that if I watch one of the movies I'm probably not going to finish the book.
oh. The only thing I'm always concerned with when watching a movie or reading a book. Well, I don't think I've read any books like this, but when something is translated from one language to the other, you're losing something for sure. So,
Yeah.
and that's the only thing that's kind of aggravating sometimes. And like I said, I've never read a book that way, but the movie that always comes to mind is the original Mad Max from 1979. I don't know if you know this. It was one of Mel Gibson. It was the movie that one of the movies that made Mel Gibson more famous in the United States gradually. It wasn't like the one that really did it, but it helped get him up to that status. But in the movie, they spoke in English, but it was Australian English. But when they brought the movie over to the United States, they dubbed the entire language. Everybody's voice was replaced, including Mel Gibson's, with another actor from the United States. And took years before I actually saw the original movie. And it was like the movie was better with the original dialogue. It was like, and so when I realized that, I'm like, when I'm watching movies that are in different languages that I don't know, obviously I'm losing something there as well. Even though I have to read the subtext, it's still, it's better obviously to see the original version or read the original version than to see what's someone's done to change that, and just so you can understand it better.
Yeah, I completely agree. I feel like it's mainly just because like there are words in French and in, German and all kinds of languages that's like there's no real translation to English.
Mhm.
Um and so it's like there's, not all of them, but there's, some where it's like there's no real translation and it's not going to convey the same feeling or the same emotion or meaning or whatever in English, just because there's no way to like say it really. Um, and so there's, of course, going to be things lost in translation. That's,
Mhm.
going to happen. But my brain is not powerful enough to learn French.
Oh yeah.
Um, so I'm not going to be able to learn it to read the book. And believe me, I've tried. I don't understand how people can learn like multiple languages. I feel like
When I was laughing, by the way, when I was laughing, I don't mean to interrupt you. I was laughing because I was laughing at myself. I was going through the same thing. I'm not going to learn the language too, so I was just relating to what you're saying. But go ahead.
yeah. Yeah, but I feel like other countries, I know that some of them have their like students learn another language at a young age, and I know that that is really effective because kids are so their brains are sponges, of course, and so they can easily learn another language. My brain has lost its sponge like consistency for languages,
Hmm.
so.
Well, there's a YouTube channel called Today I Found Out. Have you ever heard of it?
I
And
think I've heard of it. I don't know if I've ever seen it though.
I'll bring it up here. And I'm bringing this up for one reason because of what you just said. I'm gonna oh, here's their channel. So today I found out it's a very popular YouTube channel. I watch them periodically, and they made a video that contradicts what you just said. And I believed what yeah I was in agreement with you up until I saw their video. I only saw like a couple months ago. Basically, they said that if you're an adult actually learns a language easier than a child. It's the exact opposite. It's a myth that, according to them, that children learn languages easier than adults. Um, it's if you're an adult, you can actually learn it faster than a child would. So I don't know. I'm not going to play the video, but it's on their channel, and I found out they went through they did a lot of research. They actually do actual research when they do this. They don't just like go to Wikipedia or something. They actually actually do research and look at different studies and things like that, and actually find things to back up with their claims. So I don't know. Up until I saw that video, I would have agreed with 100% with what you just said, but I'm not sure anymore. So
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know either now, but I mean, in psychology, we learned that like I took psychology. I don't want to be one of those people, but I took it in like high school, and then I took two courses in college, and it was like the speed at which your neurotransmitters transmit the whatever that they transmit. I don't remember. Is like it's much slower as you get older. It gets slower and slower, and that's like why people get um old people brain diseases. I'm not good at explaining this. But I don't know. In psychology is like basically you can learn most, if not all things kind of quicker as a kid
hmm.
than as an adult. And I mean like I took Spanish class, and I'm how do I explain this? I took Spanish class in like high school, and I also was in bilingual school in kindergarten. And in kindergarten, bilingual school, which was Spanish English, um, I learned everything very quickly, and I had a pretty good grasp on both languages. But then in high school, I it was a lot harder for me. I thought it was going to be really easy, just because it was in kindergarten and first grade. But then in high school, it was like really difficult, you know. So just from personal experience, I don't know. It just seems like it gets harder as you get older.
Yeah, I'm not saying that these guys are 100% right. They just opened my mind to something new. That's all. So I just so I'm not, and I don't mean to contradict what you're saying or anything either. So I
No,
just
I feel like everything it could be the brain is so complicated. I feel like it could be either way. I would not be surprised if either way it was true. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. I'm open to. Ever since I saw the video, I'm like, okay, and I don't want to believe anything that they tell me about the brain now. So I
Yeah.
do know. When I was a kid, I was told by my parents that people only use 10% of their brain. That the rest of the 90% we never use. Which when I grew up and older, I checked that out. No, that's 100% false. We do
Yeah,
use
that's
100% of our brain. So that's a myth that was started as well. Also,
yeah.
another myth that's not really the same, but if you wear a hat in the wintertime, they're supposed to keep you warmer because it retains your heat. That's also a myth. That's not true either. So it just keeps your head a little bit warmer, but doesn't retain any more body heat. That's a myth. So
Right. I feel like the from what I learned, your body heat is released with like your extremities, your hands, your arms, and your legs.
hmm and yeah,
So
my parents used to tell me to wear a hat because it retained more body heat, and I was just another myth that they learned. So
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's not always a myth. Like maybe it was true at one point because, scientists, did a study. They thought it was true because it worked every time. Maybe like every time they tested the study, it worked. And then they found out something new, and then it was just like updated. And I feel like that's kind of things like Sigmund Freud used to think that the lumpiness of your head told you something about like who you were as a person, and it's like that it doesn't make any sense at all now, obviously, but back then everyone was like, oh, you're right. My left side of my brain is lumpier, or my left side of my head is lumpier than my right side, so that must mean I'm a talented, I don't know, tap dancer or something. I don't know.
There's another myth. I don't know if you call it a myth, but it caused a lot of people to die early. Was they used to put I can't remember how this worked. In gum, they used to have like a special kind of gum that had toxic materials in it, and people would chew it and they ended up dying early because it had something to do with radioactivity or something, and they thought it was good for you or something, and
Jeez.
a lot of people died early because of that because they were. I don't know all the details. I have to look that one up. But I saw that I was like, oh my god! People nowadays would be like, no, you would never put that in gum, whatever it was, and these poor people died because of this. So.
Yeah, that's
It's
crazy.
so getting back to a movie. Oh, what would you give this movie as a final grade?
It was a 5 out of 10 for me.
Oh, 5 out of
Maybe
10.
4.5. I don't know. I wouldn't
So,
watch it again. It wasn't awful. It wasn't like a negative, feeling of 5 out of 10. It was just like average.
okay. Okay. So and when you say 5 out of 10, that's not really bad though, is what you're saying. Because when I hear 5 out of 10, I think like a rating a test. Like that would be a 50 out of 100, which would be an F. But you're not saying it's like that, are you?
No, I feel like it's like, first of all, I personally think 0 out of 100 should be an F, not 50, because if you got 50 things correct out of 100, you got at least half of them right, which is not, a horrible thing. Anyway, I think, more of like a 1 out of 10 or a 2 out of 10 or like a negative 5 out of 10 would be, this movie was awful and I'm never putting my eyes near it again.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. So I get it. And I would agree based on what you're saying, I'll give it the same rating. But I probably would have, because my mind thinks that number is low, I probably would have said something higher, only because I would have said like maybe 7 or 6.5 out of 10 or something like that. But I think I think you and I are at the same agreement at what it is.
Yeah.
It's not a bad movie, but it's not a great movie. Yeah, I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it again, though technically I did, but that's only because I hadn't seen it in so long anyways. But if I had kids, I'd probably show it to them and let them see it, see if they like it. But and if they got scared, obviously I'd be there to make sure they didn't get scared. So, but yeah, I agree. I think you and I are both in agreement on that. I would have to say that Jim Henson's other work, like the Dark Crystal, is definitely better than this one. So, but then again, I saw that when I was a kid, and that was so long ago. I have no idea if it's any good. It may be just as bad as this for all I know. So, but I do know a lot of people love the Dark Crystal, so it probably is better than this. From what it's been a long time since I've seen that one. So, but yeah, that's anything else you'd like to add for that one?
Um, I don't think so.
Okay, well, let's go back to the question. I was just bringing that up. Hold on a second here. Oops, I was able to hear that. Okay, here we go. We got 119. Let me refresh the screen again. It might have gone up a little. 148 votes so far. Is that 140 or 148? Yeah, 148.
148. Yeah.
Do you like sleeping in warm or cold temperatures? 51% is the so far in the lead with warm, 38% with cold, 6% with the I don't sleep, and 5% with either. Interesting.
I'm definitely surprised. I thought more people would be on the cold team.
I guess I would think most people would have been like, of course I'm thinking myself, would be on the either team. So I guess I don't know. As long as it's not too much extreme, I guess, like I said earlier. So but I I guess you're right. I mean, I have when it gets too warm. Like I said earlier, I just can't sleep. I just have to get up, and it's like I'm just walking around, just gets real miserable. So, and I have to, especially with this 90-degree heat we've been having for the past month, it's like I have to walk over and then turn the air conditioning on and lay back down again, which is really annoying. So,
Yeah, yeah, definitely. If I wake up sweating, then I wake up angry too, you know?
yeah. We got 3 comments so far. Sandeep Mohan R, which is a regular contributor, says, "I would like to sleep in cold weather conditions with my blankets over my top. Oh my goodness, it's heaven." 2 thumbs up for that. Trung, who always says hi when we first start our videos, says, "Are you GTA 4?" I assume he's asking if I did that. Well, I already uploaded several GTA 4 videos. In fact, I think I have well over 100 of them on there. So, and we got a final one with GM. I can't read the last name. Says warm. So, okay. Alrighty. Well, that's a decent response. We appreciate everyone responding to that. And I guess we'll come back next week with something new, and we'll see you then. Unless you had anything else you wanted to add before we wrap everything up.
No, just thank you for listening and thank you for doing the little survey thingy.
Okay. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.